I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. For although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the little ones. Most of the people I've known in my life are simple, ordinary men and women. And if you look up above at Joseph and Mary, simple people, carpenter, stay-at-home mom, but extraordinary people in their simplicity. And when you look at those disciples that Jesus called, if you watch The Chosen at all, you see they were a bit clueless and know-it-alls and didn't seem to show much promise. But Jesus saw something in very ordinary men who preached the gospel to the entire known world. None of them were educated. They weren't priests or religious leaders. Yet look at what God did through these ordinary men and women. I think of all the holy men and women I've met in my lifetime, and many are in this church. Many have gone to the Lord, but I marvel at how many people, maybe you too, in life have modeled for me love and fidelity and self-sacrifice and service on a daily basis. Yes, all of our family members and those we've loved the most, many who are with the Lord, we're ordinary, flawed human beings, but so were the saints. Isn't that a consolation? They were too. It's not about perfection. It's about fidelity. It's about faithfulness. And I think of the parents of many of you here present who I've known, who are saints. I think of the Franciscan sisters next door and the lay teachers I had at our school who left an imprint on my soul, who were ordinary but zealous servants of God. And I think of all the poor people I've met over the years, especially during my time in Mexico, my time in Chile, and almost 8 years in East Africa. I met many ordinary, simple people who had extraordinary holiness and were lights in the world. In my own case, I've never seen myself as anyone extraordinary, just a simple guy from LaPorte, Indiana, the Maple City, a great place to live, work, and do business. I see on the sign coming into town. That's good. So when the Apostolic Nuncio, Christophe Pierre, who was French, called me 4 times on December 2nd on my phone, I just saw 4 calls from a number in D.C. I did not recognize, and I blocked the caller. Not knowing who I was blocking, figure if it's important, he'll leave a message. Well, a nuncio can't do that when he's going to ask you to be a bishop. So he was in a panic. He contacted Bishop Bill Walk, who's also, like me, a Holy Cross priest. He's down in Pensacola, Florida. Bishop Bill was very nervous that he was going to be transferred after 5 years. So he said, "Hello, Archbishop?" Yes, Bishop Walk, I'm trying to reach Father Patrick Neary. "Oh, is that why you're calling?" "Sure, let me help you." "Well, if you can't get through on his phone, try WhatsApp." So that's when I got the message that changed my life. I need to get it framed, actually, that message. And when you're asked, you're not really asked, you're told, like Father Neary, the Holy Father Pope Francis has appointed you the 10th bishop of the Diocese of St. Cloud in Minnesota. And you're a little surprised, to say the least. So I was stunned, overwhelmed, a bit panic-stricken, but my training is to say yes to what I feel is the Lord's invitation, and who can say no to Pope Francis? That would not be good. I did feel, because I've always tried to avoid being in the spotlight, I felt like, okay, Christ is saying, "Patrick, you have to step out in faith. I need something more from you." And so I said yes. People have asked me what I've enjoyed most so far about being a bishop. Well, the diocese did get me a nice SUV, a Toyota RAV4, because my car in Portland had to stay with the order with Holy Cross. But that's not the best part of the job, or that I rarely have to cook a meal because people drop off food all the time. It's mostly getting to know my flock, the people of the Diocese of St. Cloud. Getting to know my priests has been important, my deacons, but the lay faithful, most of them are farmers. Lots of farmers and big families. pretty amazing to meet families larger than my own when we had 6 kids. So I love going to the parishes for confirmation masses, anniversary celebrations of parishes, fish fries. There they have walleye for their fish fries, which we can't afford here. And just sitting down with them over a cup of coffee or a beer on occasion. What I realized from my own experience too is most people have never talked to a bishop and they're a bit nervous. To be honest, as a priest, I tended to avoid them for most of my time. But now we call each other by our first names, we bishops. Something quite different. But I realized that I just have another family of faith. This is one here, Holy Cross is another, my parish in Portland, but now the Diocese of St. Cloud. Christ is in them, and I'm called to serve Christ in them. I've got a big diocese with 16 counties, 131 parishes, and I've already put on 10,000 miles on my vehicle in 4 months. But I like to drive, so that's a good thing. We've got 2 Benedictine colleges in our diocese, St. John's University in Collegeville and the College of St. Benedict in St. Joseph, not far from where I live. So we have Benedictine men and women who are serving in these institutions, and they're extraordinary people. We've got 2 Catholic high schools and many, many grade schools. And I'm blessed that in the diocese we have so many sharp, fairly young lay people running everything. I just have to show up and smile and say a few thoughtful words. They're doing all the hard work. I've never been busier than I am now as a bishop, but I have a great administrative assistant who controls email and calendar, and I do feel so blessed. As for all of us here, maybe none of us consider ourselves the learned or the clever or the powerful of our society, and that doesn't matter. But God has called you too, like me, by name, to serve him in the world of today. We are the church, and despite its flaws, it is always holy by the Spirit, promised to it. Because we, for all our flaws, are also holy. I love what Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta once said. But who is the church? You and I. Jesus doesn't need palaces. People need those things. The church are those who follow him. And she says, following him is something I try to do every day. We live surrounded by people who are hungry for love. That is what we need to give them. If everyone were capable of discovering the image of God in their neighbors, do you think that we would need tanks and generals? I'm going to speak a bit in German. This is a German Catholic parish historically. I'm kidding. I would get a laugh in St. Cloud because everyone there is German. So we clearly don't have many Germans in the community. So much for that. I'll speak in Spanish a bit, just for a few minutes. And I'm grateful that we have some Latino families here, especially from Bremen, St. Dominic Parish, where I used to do Spanish Mass twice a month when I was at Notre Dame. Bueno, mis hermanos y hermanas latinos aquí presentes, gracias por haber asistido a esta misa de acción de gracias por mi nombramiento como obispo de la diócesis de St. Cloud. Nunca esperaba esta llamada de parte del Señor, pero sé que Jesús me ha invitado a servirle a Él y a su pueblo como obispo. Yo diría que quizá una de las más grandes experiencias de mi vida fue mi estadía en la Ciudad de México en 83. Me enamoré de la cultura, de la Virgencita, del pueblo mexicano y su fe profunda, que me ha marcado para siempre. Bueno, yo creo que las palabras de Jesucristo del Evangelio de hoy están dirigidas a nosotros. Te alabo, Padre, Señor del cielo y de la tierra, porque escondiste estas cosas de los sabios y los entendidos y las revelaste a los niños. Los discípulos que Jesús llamó eran hombres sencillos, no eran educados y no eran diferentes a nosotros. Hay mucho que aprender como nuevo obispo y mucho que hacer. Sobre todo me encanta convivir con las ovejas latinas de mi diócesis. El Papa Francisco dijo que como pastores es importante tener el olor a oveja. Gracias a Dios, la comunidad hispana de mi diócesis es grande y vibrante. Ahora, una breve enseñanza sobre las herramientas de mi oficina como obispo. La mitra, aquí, es un sombrero ceremonial y su diseño consiste en una banda de tela que rodea la cabeza y una especie de cono en la parte superior. La mitra simboliza autoridad y el poder espiritual del obispo y del papa. También representa la conexión del obispo y del papa con Dios y su posición como líderes de la Iglesia Católica. El báculo, so if you guys don't know the name, the pastoral staff crochet, this is called a báculo in Spanish. El báculo simboliza el de un pastor y se refiere a la imagen de Jesús como el buen pastor. Indica la función del cuidado del pueblo cristiano por el nuevo obispo. El anillo episcopal, aquí en mi dedo, es un símbolo de la fidelidad de un obispo a su diócesis y a la iglesia en general, y el mío lleva mi escudo episcopal. La cruz pectoral es aquella que usan los obispos y algunos abades, colgada al cuello como signo de su dignidad y su cercanía a la cruz de Jesucristo. La cruz es la parte central de la espiritualidad de mi congregación, la congregación de Santa Cruz, que es Salve Crux Spes Unica, que quiere decir salve la cruz, nuestra única esperanza. En el día de mi ordenación, el obispo McClory de esta diócesis me regaló con la cruz pectoral del tercer obispo de esta diócesis, Dale Melchak, que murió en agosto del año pasado. Y lo voy a tener colgado con mi traje después de misa. Okay, back to my native tongue. Now for some bishop's trivia. I can see the clock there. So, Jeff Kabaji, can you help me with time? Make sure I don't go more than 5 minutes. Okay. It's my good buddy since I was in second grade here. Now for some trivia, beginning with the mitre. This is what it's called. The mitre is the tall peaked hat that bishops wear, and so does the Holy Father. It has its origin in the cap with headbands worn by athletes of ancient Greece. At first, the mitre was used exclusively by the Holy Father, but by the 12th century, it was extended to all bishops as a mark of their office and a symbol of their authority. Two strips of fabrics here. Do anyone know what they're called? What these are called, these two fabrics? I didn't either. I looked it up on the internet. They're called lappets, L-A-P-P-E-T-S, lappets. They hang down the back. They were originally designed for something practical. When the bishop went on horseback, he tied these under his neck, under his chin, I should say, so his mitre wouldn't fall off. I don't plan to ride on horseback. Horses make me nervous. The crozier, which is this, or the pastoral staff, is in the shape of a shepherd's staff, right? And the symbolism is pretty clear that the bishop's supposed to imitate Christ, the Good Shepherd. And since the 5th century, it was customary for the Pope to carry a wooden staff. And eventually, in the 6th century, all bishops began to use the same instrument as an outward sign of their ministry as shepherds of God's holy people. Technically, I'm not supposed to carry a crozier in this diocese because I am not the ordinary of this diocese. I'm not the bishop. But would you believe it? I saw Bishop McClory in Florida at the bishop's meeting a few weeks ago. He said, Patrick, when you go to St. Joe's, I want them to see your full regalia, so I'm going to send a crozier over, which he did. So here we have it. God bless Bishop McClory. Great man. So this is called a pectoral cross, coming from the Latin word pectus, which means breast. It's worn by the Pope, cardinals, bishops, and abbots of monasteries. So the abbot at St. John's, where I am, he wears one of these. And this reflects the order of the dignity of the office of a bishop or an abbot. It served originally as a reliquary for the true cross, a piece of the true cross, which encouraged the custom of wearing it close to the breast. The bishop assumes the cross upon his ordination, and wears the cross suspended from a ceremonial cord, which you can see here, or he wears it with his suit, which I'll do later. The cross Bishop Melchek gave me, or was Bishop Melchek's that Bishop McClory gave me, doesn't fit on this ceremonial chain, so we'll wear it later. There's a big debate as to whether a bishop should wear the pectoral cross over the chasuble or inside of the chasuble. And Rome has allowed for it being outside. It's supposed to usually be inside, but it's kind of like with toilet paper. You don't know whether to hang it over or under. So we don't think that this will be resolved by the bishops before Jesus returns. So I do want to give a special word of thanks to Bishop McClory, who's become a good friend, but also Bishop Melchek, who I met when I was a younger man. And he was a great bishop of the diocese, the third bishop of this diocese, who died on August 25th, 2022. He was 83. So may God give him the fullness of joy in the kingdom for who he is and his faithful service, and pray for me and all of us in a special way this day.